In the ancient world, bread was not merely a side dish, it was life itself. The Hebrew word for bread, lehem, was so central to existence that it frequently functioned as a generic term for all food. Providing between 50 and 70% of an ordinary person's daily calories, grains formed the bedrock of the Mediterranean triad: bread, wine, and olive oil. As Deuteronomy chapter 8 verse 9 promises, it was a land in which you will eat bread without scarcity, in which you will lack nothing. The biblical harvest was defined by two primary cereals. Barley, Hordeum vulgare, was the hardy survivor, maturing a month earlier than wheat and resisting harsh, dry conditions. Because it was easier to grow and cheaper, it was the staple for the poor and commoners. Wheat was considered a luxury and the preferred grain for fine flour, or solet, used in temple offerings. Early Israelites used emmer wheat, a hulled grain that required time-consuming roasting to remove the husk. During the Second Temple period, durum wheat and common bread wheat became predominant, allowing for the lighter, fluffier textures we recognize today. Turning grain into bread was an intensive, daily labor performed almost exclusively by women. A mother in a household of 6 would spend roughly 3 hours every morning kneeling at a stone quern to grind flour for the day. In the Iron Age, these stones were often made of volcanic basalt, valued for its rough surface that made grinding quicker. However, this speed came at a cost. Small basalt flakes and grit would enter the flour, leading to severe dental abrasion and worn-down teeth across ancient populations. Biblical bread came in two main forms: leavened, or hametz, and unleavened, or matzah. Ancient leavening relied on seor, a sourdough starter reserved from a previous batch to absorb wild yeasts from the air. This leavened bread was more filling and had a longer shelf life. Unleavened bread was the bread of haste, prepared quickly for unexpected guests or during migrations, such as the Exodus from Egypt. As Exodus chapter 12 verse 34 records, the people took their dough before it was leavened, their kneading bowls being bound up in their cloaks on their shoulders. Baking evolved through several clever technologies. The sage, a rounded metal or clay disc placed over an open fire for thin, quick-cooking flaps of dough. The Tannur, a beehive-shaped clay oven where dough was slapped directly onto the heated interior walls. The taboon, a dome-shaped oven, often insulated with household refuse or dung to retain heat. The Roman furn, a large, stone-lined oven that finally allowed for the baking of much thicker loaves. Ancient consumers prepared their grains in many ways beyond simple loaves. Parched grain, or kali, kernels roasted over fire. This was the portable, long-lasting ration of soldiers and travelers. It was the roasted grain Boaz gave to Ruth in the fields, Ruth chapter 2 verse 14. Porridge and gruel, or marak, ground grain boiled with water, salt, and butter, often supplemented with lentils or chickpeas for a filling breakfast. Ritual breads, including the showbread, 12 loaves displayed in the temple, and challah, a thick, high-quality loaf reserved for ritual purposes. The biblical diet was remarkably functional. Whole wheat grains were powerhouses of starch, protein, B vitamins, and dietary fiber. They provided essential minerals such as iron, calcium, magnesium, zinc, and selenium. Modern research confirms that these ancient whole grains, when consumed with legumes like lentils, as Ezekiel was commanded in Ezekiel chapter 4 verse 9, provided a complete protein source necessary for cardiovascular health. How does biblical bread compare to what is in your pantry? Modern roller mills separate the bran and germ, whereas ancient stones kept the entire grain intact, though they added stone grit. We primarily use commercial, fast-acting yeast today, whereas the ancient sourdough method provided unique flavors and better mineral absorption. Today's flour is clean and enriched. Ancient flour was often glittering with stone fragments that destroy dental health. Modern technology has pushed yields from roughly 100 kilograms per dunam in biblical times to over 400 kilograms today. Prepared grains and breads were the thread that tied the ancient Israelite to the land, to their community, and to their God. Whether it was the matzah of liberation or the daily porridge of survival, every bite was a reminder of divine provision. As Deuteronomy chapter 8 verse 3 reminds us, man does not live on bread alone, but on every word that comes from the mouth of the Lord. Next time you break bread, remember you are partaking in a legacy of resilience that spans 10,000 years of history. Like and subscribe for more deep dives into the archaeology of the Bible.